Hey YouTube, I'm Chris Miasma's friend here. I'm doing a guest deck profile of my build of Dragonic Overlord the X. Built it a couple of weeks ago for the format, and so far it's been doing pretty well, topped a couple of tournaments. So yeah, let's get into the deck profile. Starter is your grade 3 Searcher. You play him in the deck mainly because you want to hit the X first, and then because this deck needs grade 3s to function, so he should definitely be your starter. For triggers, I go 8 crit, 4 draws, and 4 heals. A lot of people like to go like 7-5. I personally just like 8 crits because it's stride format, and I feel like it puts on a lot more pressure, but I mean 7-5, even 6-6 if that's your playstyle, I think they both work, so yeah. Onto grade 1s. I play 4 perfect guards. I play older ones just for the mirror match, basically. Protect your rear guards from the X so it can't plus. I play 3 of your stride fodders. I've been thinking of cutting this down for something else, but in hands where you're forced to just play into the end, he's honestly too useful so that you're not just stuck with like some crappy vanilla 11k to beat down with. Then I play 2 Calamity Tower Wyverns. A lot of people like to go 3 or even 4 right now, and in Japan he was even hit down to 2. I honestly still only like him as a 2 of just because I use the soul a lot more for Dragonic Burnout later on in the game, and I like him mostly early game just to try to fuel the Legion. After that I don't think he's a super useful card. Then I play 2 Dragon Monk Gojos. Generic skill, rest him, discard a card, draw a card. Again, good for fueling Legion and cycling out cards you don't need. Also, don't use him for this much, but he puts Dragonic Overlords into your drop zone early game or late game for Burnout's effect if you don't have any, so he's a useful card. I've kind of been thinking of cutting like one of these to bump him up to a 3 of, which I might test around with, but not really sure. Then 2 of whatever this guy is. When something's retired due to the effect of one of your units, you put him into the soul and unflip 2 damage. He fuels soul, so cards like Calamity Tower are still alive, and for your Dragonic Burnouts. He's not the most useful card in the game. Sometimes his skill isn't needed, but for like long grindy games where you are using up a lot of counterblasts, I really like him. On to grade 2s for 12k attackers. Just the 12k attacker, no real need to explain why I run that. 3 burnout. Take an Overlord from your drop and put it to the bottom of your deck, and then Soul Blast 1, retire anything. Really good, free of counterblast, retire of pretty much whatever you want, and he gets your Overlords back into the drop zone, or sorry, back into the deck from the drop zone, which is pretty good. A lot of people go 4. I personally only play 3 just because every game I play, when I've ended up seeing all 3 for whatever reason, the last one's always dead. Like, 2's always good, but I don't know, I just don't like the feeling of playing a lot of 9k vanillas in the deck, so I only go 3. Then 3 Neoflame, because I do play the Great in this deck, so I do want his Legion Mate, and at first I thought this would honestly be a pretty dead card, but there's actually a lot of interesting plays you can do with him, such as comboing him with Burnout, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, Kill a Column. He combos great with the Great for those games that you're playing where you have to play straight into him, sorry, no pun intended. The only other thing I don't really like about him is, like Burnout, after he's called, he's just a 9k vanilla, which is why I tech this card in as a 2 of Twilight Arrow Dragon. At G-Break 1, when he swings and he's boosted, Counterblast 1 and kill a rearguard. Most decks don't play this card just because the X doesn't stride all that often, but personally I do stride a couple of games with it, and when this card's live, the opponent's trying to get him off the field, he's a pretty good-sized threat to him. And it's just a good feeling to play something that has a live effect after he's called. So that's basically my justification behind him. After that, moving on to the 3s, it's pretty straightforward. You're playing for the X just because he's the boss card. He's what you win with. When you Legion, you get to search out a copy of either him or the End, so you don't have to like wait for them to show up in your hand, and then if you hit, you can use the End skill to stand up, and if not, retire to. Pretty straightforward, good card, wins games. After that, I play 3 Dragonic Overlord, the Ends. You only need 3 because, like I said earlier, he's searchable, and playing into him leaves you in a really shitty spot, so you don't really want to see him. Then, after that, I just play the One the Great. I was skeptical about playing it at first, but he gives you a good early game if you're forced to play into him, and in the late game, when you finish doing everything you want to do with the X, he's a really good just finisher. Unless there's like a problem column, like a Silent Tom in an 8K vanilla that you want to get rid of, I would recommend going into him over Stride, just because he gets you 4 drive checks instead of 3, so that's just 1 extra. Then, after that, new format, new mechanics is the Stride Zone. I play 4 Mahmood. I should probably cut this down to a 3 of. Issue is, this deck isn't really complete right now. I only have 2 Root Flare. I do have a 3rd, but it's kind of dead without the 4th one, so don't really feel like running a dead 15k vanilla right now. Working on the 4th, so right now I have 1 Harmonix Messiah and 1 Atmos. I'd like the final builds to be 1 Atmos, 3 Mahmoods, and then 4 Root Flare, but for now it's this. It's still been doing pretty good. I mean, it's the X. It's been doing pretty good, and I think at most locals and just in the meta in general, it's a really good card, but yeah, that's basically it, and as always, rate, comment, and subscribe.